Hey there, this is Natalie, and as we continue to get hyped up for Season 2 of Mushoku Tensei, aka Jobless Reincarnation, today I want to talk about the various interesting pets that Rudeus acquires across the course of the series. Because what's a second life in a fantasy world without some cool beasts? This will contain spoilers, but as always I'll keep them to only things I need to spoil to talk about the topic. Before I get started, please remember to subscribe and ring the bell because I have lots of things planned for Season 2, including live streams and collaborations with other channels who also love the series, and it's gonna be a good time. Also, I'm afraid that, as with my last couple of videos, I have to drop in a bit of the dreaded e-begging because I'm in a really bad financial situation after various things that have happened over the last year, all of which are covered in my various channel update videos, so I won't go into it here. I'm trying to ramp things up again so I can support myself with ad revenue and sponsors again, but for now I'm in a bit of a scary position, and so if you can afford it and want to help me out, there are links to my Ko-fi and Patreon in the description. Any help at all is really appreciated. I hate doing the begging, but things are pretty bad, so I kind of have to lean on my community a bit at the moment. But enough of that. Let's talk about the pets that end up becoming part of the Greyrat family. The first thing you need to know is that Rudeus ends up living in a mansion near to the Ranoa Magic University, which becomes his permanent home. He gets it for cheap because it's thought to be haunted, a storyline we will see in Season 2. He buys it when he's ready to marry his first wife, Sylphie, and so wants to move off of the university campus. He's lucky to have such a large home, since he ends up with 3 wives, as well as Aisha, Zenith and Lilia, all living with him, and then later on his 6 children. But this means there's also room for 3 of the 4 pets the family ends up with. The first pet he acquires, however, does not live with them in the mansion, because he's a horse, and a pretty big one at that. His name is Matsukaze, and Rudeus gets him when Ginger, who is Zenoba's knight who we saw in Season 1, buys him to help Rudeus when he heads off with Elise to help Paul in the rescue of Zenith. The full details of that expedition are in my video about Zenith, but for the first part of the journey, Rudeus and Elise need to get to a secret teleportation site that Rudeus finds out about from Nana Hoshi, who found out about it herself during her travels with Orsted. Matsukaze is a very good boy, and Rudeus becomes very fond of him. However, because he lives at a local stable rather than with the family, he's the pet we hear about the least after his initial role in the story is over, with Rudeus simply going to visit him from time to time when he's at home rather than embroiled in other events in distant lands. The second pet to join the Greyrat household also appears in the same arc, the Zenith Rescue. This arc largely takes place in a place called the Beggarit continent, which has a lot of desert terrain, and large domesticated monsters that resemble armadillos are used for transport. Rudeus uses one such animal, which he names Jiro. Well, in Japanese he's named Jiro because that's how the last part of the word armadillo sounds in Japanese, but in English light novel translations it was changed to Dillo. I think Dillo makes sense in English, but it does sound a bit like a word I once got demonetized for saying, so I'm going to call him Jiro for the rest of the video. After all of the events in the teleportation labyrinth, which again are explained in my Zenith video so I won't go over here, Rudeus and Roxy, who he's now reunited with and intends to take as his second wife, travel back to the teleportation site with Jiro. Rudeus worries that if left behind, Jiro will just be eaten by monsters due to his docile nature as a domesticated creature, so he brings him back with him and they keep him as a family pet. He's big enough to ride and takes up quite a lot of space, so again it's a good thing Rudy got a good deal on a big house. Later on, when Roxy starts working as a professor at the university, she often rides Jiro to work. Next up, we have Beat. Beat is a creature called a treant, which is a kind of tree monster. There are all different varieties of treant in Mushoku Tensei's setting, depending on the region, and they can range from mobs that are easy to kill and can be used for things like firewood, through to quite dangerous monsters. If you've been wondering about that scene from the Season 2 trailers where we see a certain blonde girl all trapped in vines, well, that's a treant. However, Rudeus finds that Aisha is raising a baby one in a pot in her bedroom. Aisha is extremely good at practical things, including gardening, and Rudeus eventually trusts her to raise this little treant to be tame. Beat's name simply comes from the middle of the phrase, baby treant. They don't really go for over-fanciful names for their pets. As time goes by, Aisha raises Beat, and it is very well trained. Outgrowing its pot in her bedroom, she plants it outside the front door, where it serves both as security, keeping away intruders, and as kind of an automatic door, opening the door for people who it knows are supposed to be there. It's cool, and I want one. The last pet to join the family, and the one with the most significance to the plot, is actually one we've already seen before in Season 1. Once Rudeus agrees to ally with Orsted gives him a scroll that can summon a magical beast to protect his family. The first time he attempts this, humorously, it summons Aramanthe, the familiar of Perugius, who Rudeus first encountered right before the mass teleportation incident. This is quite awkward for everyone involved. However, the second time he does this, it summons the sacred beast of the Beast Tribe that Rudeus had already bonded with when he was in the Beast Tribe village, as we saw in Season 1. Rudeus already knows that the sacred beast is supposed to become the companion of the fated hero, and the Beast Tribe had already told him that despite his affinity with the beast, it wasn't him. When the Big Papa spends all of his time around pregnant Roxy, it becomes apparent that the hero the sacred beast is supposed to accompany is their daughter Lara. Once Lara is born, the sacred beast, which they name Leo, becomes inseparable from her. Lara is a strange girl and doesn't talk much, but she has the Migurd race trait of telepathy, unlike her mother Roxy. She can communicate with Leo via telepathy and is closer to him than really anyone else in the family. Lara is also a bit of a prankster as a child, fearlessly playing tricks even on Orsted, with Leo always seeming to be in on the joke. When Lara leaves home at the very end of the last chapter of Redundancy, she was planning to leave with only a note, as Rudeus and his wives were all away for their youngest daughter Christina's graduation. When they return home though, she's still there to say goodbye, saying that Leo had said she should. She then sets off with him, heading, presumably, straight into the sequel series. So those are Rudeus's pets, but there does also have to be an honourable mention for a cat Eris wants to adopt. Eris is part of the Rudeus Greyrat line, who are known for their fetish for beast people, and Eris is no exception. The cat in question turns out to be Linnea, a beast girl who is Rudeus's friend from university and also Ghislaine's niece. Eris does end up, in a sense, keeping her as a pet of sorts, but since she's a person and has more involvement in other storylines than the animals and monsters the Greyrat family have as pets, I'm not going to cover her here. She'll get a full character video when she appears in Season 2. I know a lot of people get mixed up and think Linnea is the same cat beast girl Eris made friends with in Season 1, but that actually isn't the case. That was Minitona, who is Linnea's younger sister. Linnea was already away at university when Rudeus and Eris were at the Beast Tribe village, and so at the current point in the anime, they haven't met her yet. So, which is your favourite of the Greyrat family's pets? Leo is obviously the one with the biggest role in things, but I really like Beat. I think it shows how talented Aisha is that she can raise something we, at this point, have already seen to be a dangerous monster. Not to only be tame, but also useful. And while it just sort of sits there by the door, it has this kind of clear personality as well. It doesn't really do anything in the story, but it adds some cute characterization for both Aisha and the mansion as a family home. But let me know which one you like best in the comments. Thank you as always to my supporters on Patreon, as well as to those of you who've already helped me out with donations through Ko-fi. I only put the Patreon members on screen because I think Ko-fi sometimes shows me people's real names instead of their screen names, and I assume people don't want those on a video about giant puppies from anime. But believe me, everyone who's helping me out there is a real lifesaver at the moment, and I love you all. Thank you too to everyone who helps me out in other ways, like subscribing to my channel and watching my videos. Thank you for watching this one, and I hope to see you again very soon as we continue getting ready for Mushoku Tensei Season 2.